Hello everybody and welcome back to another new vlog. Thank you for joining me once again. Quick question for you. What do you think of that beautiful oak tree behind me? Now I know it's an oak tree because around the foot of it there are hundreds of fallen acorns that have obviously dropped off because we are now in October, well into the autumn, and obviously the seasons are changing and everything's falling off the trees, leaves, acorns in this case. So yeah, what do you think of that beautiful oak tree behind me? Well, I can tell you that's probably told a lot of very interesting stories over the years. It must have been there a good 200 years, I would think. But when you look at it, you can see how the environment around it has actually helped to mould that tree and to design its identity and its character. And during the course of its lifetime, it's probably had many children sitting around that playing, families having picnics, people walking their dogs around the tree, all kinds of things going on. And it becomes a really nice community hub for everybody around here. Similar, in fact, to the sycamore tree at Sycamore Gap in Northumberland. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that in just a while. So Sycamore Gap is a spot in Northumberland in the north of England where Hadrian's Wall runs across the width of the country, and the landscape around it is all beautiful and quiet and peaceful, and it's a place where people love to go to walk their dogs, spend time with their families and just enjoy the scenery. Just at one point along Hadrian's Wall, there's a section where two hills next to each other create a V-shaped dip in between the two hills, and Hadrian's Wall snakes up and over these two hills, down into the dip and up again over the next hill and carries on. It creates this little gap in between the two hills, and in that gap for over 300 years a tree has been growing, a sycamore tree. The tree that's given the space its name, Sycamore Gap. Due to the character and the identity of the tree, which themselves have been forged by the environment and the surroundings of the tree itself, and all that beautiful landscape and all kinds of weather and elements winding through the space, wind, rain, snow, sleet, hail, all kinds of weather has battered that spot, and for 300 years one sycamore tree has stood powerful against all of that, and grown up and created this beautiful scene where everybody likes to go and see the tree, see the landscape. It's inspired lots of artists, photographers like myself, and artists who want to make work around the tree and the landscape. And I say it stood for 300 years. It stands no longer. Well, last week some evil bastard decided to cut the tree down. And that's really the only name I can give them, to be quite honest with you, because what they've done was just destructive, devastating, and has left the community very much upset and angry about what's gone on. And yes, it was cut down. It's become a national and international news story. People from all over the world have travelled there to see this tree over many years, to see the beauty of it and to enjoy the surroundings, and now it's just gone, just like that. But yeah, it was cut down, and I know it was cut down because all of the news reports I've seen about the tree and what's happened to it have shown images of the tree with a very clear cut at the base of the tree, where somebody's obviously took a chainsaw to it and took it right down straight away. And it really is devastating. There is a little bit of hope for the future of Sycamore Gap and that sycamore tree itself, because what is very evident from all the pictures that I've seen of it since last week is that it was a very healthy tree, very strong, and from the clean cut at the base of the tree, it may be possible that new stems and new trees will grow up from that particular cutting. So that could be interesting. Obviously it will never be the same again, it will never have the same identity, and it will always be the sibling or even the offspring of that particular tree. So it will always be considered something of a second best, or something that isn't really the way it should be, because everybody will know about the tree being cut down in the first place. Also, since the tree was cut down, some local residents have got together and planted a new sapling, sycamore sapling, just yards away from where the original sycamore tree was. I don't know whether the council will actually let them leave it there, but for the time being that stands as a beacon of hope itself. So there is hope for the future. If that new sycamore tree doesn't stand, then maybe, just maybe, another one will grow from the cutting of the one that had been there for so many years. Now there are just a couple of trees I want to photograph this morning for a couple of reasons. Firstly, the sun's out at the moment, and with the early October sunshine and the sun itself being slightly lower on the horizon now, we're getting some very interesting light which is falling nicely on some of the trees and the foliage on the trees. And that foliage is obviously starting to change colour now because it is autumn. So I've got some very interesting shots I want to take of a couple of trees around here. One of them is just behind me, just over my shoulder. But also because of the weather, we've got quite heavy rain and thundery showers and lightning forecast for this afternoon, from lunchtime really, and I want to try and make sure I'm finished and home before the light goes and before we start getting covered in rain, covered in lightning and thunder and rain, before everywhere starts to get too wet and doesn't look as good. So I'm going to take a few of these shots first of all. I've got this shot behind me, and then just about 20 or 30 yards behind that there's another tree which is all lit up as well that I want to take a photo of. So I'm going to capture these two, and then I think there's one more just after that. So I was talking about trees that have been moulded by the elements. Have a look at that one there. That silver birch tree just standing at the edge of the path. It's obviously been battered by wind and gales, and some of the branches that had already been growing up and pointing up towards the sky have now been broken off. But I quite like the fact that they've been left, because it kind of creates this triangular shape, almost like a tripod, a camera tripod. But it looks quite interesting, and I like the colour of the silver birch, the bark on the tree. I love the colour of that, and I love the light on it as well. As it is at the moment, we are actually starting to lose the light already, because obviously it's starting to cloud over, but I think I've just got a hint of blue sky behind, which is making this shot very interesting. And every now and then some more light just kind of comes out from behind a cloud and hits that tree just perfectly. So I'm going to set up a shot here and take this one, but it's only been a couple of minutes since I took the last shot of that other oak tree just over in that direction. I don't think you can see it at the moment. If I turn around a little way, you might be able to see it just beyond this one, a little way over here somewhere. There's another tree that I've just taken a photo of, and in the few minutes that it's taken me to take that photo and then get over here and decide to take this photo, the light has changed. But as you can see, the sun's coming out again now, and it's just fleeting, so I've got to get set up and take a photo of this now. So that tree has been broken and damaged for many, many years, and I've walked past it many times, probably a couple of thousand times I would have thought over the years since it's been damaged, and I've never ever stopped to take a photo of it before now. So that's quite an interesting one, a new perspective for me, but I quite like it. I think there's just one more shot now, and it's just down this little path here, if I can find the tree. And I photographed it last year around about mid-November, and it was absolutely incredible because all the colours were really popping. They had golden leaves on the floor, some golden leaves still on the trees. This beautiful big massive tree standing in the middle of like a cutting in the woodland with all this beautiful colour around it. Virtually no light whatsoever, but the colour was absolutely bursting, and I just had to stop and capture a photo of it. So I'm going back there now to see if I can get another photo now before that colour really pops, just at the beginning as the colour is just starting to turn. So hopefully this will be an interesting one if I can find the tree. So I've found the tree. It's that one there behind me. I found it completely by accident last year. I was walking along the path, which is literally just over there, and I stepped away from the path just for a second and found this beautiful tree just in this little bit of a cutting just here right off the side of the path. I wouldn't have noticed it if I hadn't actually walked off the path, and there it was. I'd like to try and show you last year's version of the image because it's very different to this. At the moment, obviously at the beginning of October, we've still got quite a lot of greenery on the trees, but I really like the green moss on the tree trunk, and all of this beautiful reddish brown covering on the floor that's come from various different years of falling acorns from the oak trees around here and falling leaves from all of the other trees. And basically that's starting to go a little bit red now, and once these leaves on the trees go red and start to fall, that'll carpet that floor again and really bring out that redness in the floor, the leaves on the floor. So that's an interesting one. Obviously last year's image is completely different to this year's because it was later in the year after the leaves had started to fall. And also it was a different time of day as well. I'd shot that in the afternoon, whereas I'm shooting this one today in the morning, mainly because I want to try and avoid the weather that's coming our way this afternoon. But yeah, they're two very interesting images, and they show a great difference between the same image at different times of the year. And it is literally only a few weeks apart, to be honest. So in a few more weeks' time, that's going to pop with colour again. So I hope you like that image. So that's it for this week's vlog there, folks. Hope you've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it. It's been very interesting to consider that when there's a moment of darkness, something bad that happens, there's always something brighter, something good that's going to happen a little way further down the line. And it's always worth remembering that and trying to hold on to that thought and look out for the brighter days ahead. And that's really what today's vlog was about. Even though the sycamore tree that had stood for 300 years or more up at Sycamore Gap in Northumberland has been cut down, there is some hope that maybe one day that will grow back up again and be just as strong and powerful and create such a beautiful landscape for artists and photographers like myself to go and visit there again in the future. Like I say, I hope you've enjoyed this week's vlog. I've enjoyed making it. If you have enjoyed it, please remember to give the video a thumbs up, and also please remember to subscribe to the channel. And I look forward to seeing you again on another vlog very soon. Bye for now.